Hello, I'm David Reed, Extension Tobacco Agronomist at the Southern Piedmont Center, and I've recently taken on some responsibilities looking at hemp in Southside Virginia as well. I want to begin by first thanking the Virginia Tobacco Commission for their financial support of a proposal that we submitted to start an industrial hemp research and extension program serving producers within Virginia's tobacco producing region. And certainly this funding has allowed us to do what we've been able to do. And this program, one of the goals is to establish an extension program for hemp producers in Southside Virginia that would mimic what we've tried to do with our tobacco extension program, where we work with our extension agents and train them in hemp production and try to support growers in terms of troubleshooting, because not all of our fields look as you see here. And we can have various problems as this photograph shows, and these other photographs show some of the other problems we can have. So, troubleshooting is a big component of that, in addition to just extension grower educations programs. Looking at our research trials that we have underway currently, we've got a variety trial that I'll go over in a second. We've got a small hemp fertilization trial. Dr. Michael Flessner is conducting an herbicide trial at Blackstone. Dr. Johnson has a leaf spot fungicide trial. Katie Britt and Dr. Kuhar have a budworm insecticide trial. And then finally, in some of our visits to farms, we see plants with such small root systems or damaged root systems that I've developed an interest in just looking at the rooting habit of the hemp plant and how we can promote a robust root system, and what should that root system look like on this crop. Just some general production information that we will follow with our test at Blackstone. We are following a tobacco production model, so that involves bare ground planting, and we are utilizing drip irrigation on everything. We are transplanting on a raised bed, and we have limited dirting cultivations. And by dirting cultivations, I mean we're not throwing a lot of soil to the plant when we plow the row, and we're not increasing the height of our bed much with these cultivations. Our row spacing is similar to tobacco. It's the same at 48 inches. And then our fertilization in general is a combination of a granular fertilizer product to start the season with. That's our base fertilizer. And then we're fertigating with our side dress materials. Here are the entries in our hemp variety trial, 23 entries. We do have boax in there twice. We're growing that from seed as well as clones, and comparing the differences in the growth habit there. And again, I'm particularly interested in looking at the rooting structure of these plants and how they differ. So you can see the different entries we have. Some of them you're going to be very familiar with. Some of them you may not be familiar with. All but one are CBD varieties, and we have one CBG entry. Looking at the data we will be collecting, we've got yield, obviously, chemistry, so we're looking at cannabinoids through the season. We're very interested in looking at just physical comparison of varieties. Which ones look like a sativa type, which ones are indica types, and how this impacts how the plants grow and how we need to manage going forward. We're also interested in just the variation between plants. So phenotypic variation is an interest as well. I've been closely involved with variety trials for tobacco for a number of years, and conducting a hemp variety trial has surprised me just how uneven the overall test can look, because there's so much difference in the appearance of the hemp entries. We don't see that if we've got a corn variety trial or a tobacco, soybean trial. They all look pretty close to the same generally, but with the hemp, we've got tremendous differences between the entries, as you can see here with these three entries. On the upper left, that's an entry that has done particularly well. Very uniform, nice growth there. And then on the right, that's an entry that has not done well for us. And, replicated 4 times, and across the 4 replications of that variety, overall very poor growth. So again, I think the test looks good overall, but there's some entries in there that very good. Here's one attempt for us to try to quantify the variation in the plants within an entry. And so we're photographing plants, and if there's no mortality in a plot, we would have 15 photographs of 15 plants. And this is just one example. Cherry blossom, that's the first plot and the first rep. Just picked that. Overall, it's a reasonably uniform entry. Not a lot of differences in the size of the plants overall. And they all look very similar in terms of shape and growth habit. Here's another entry, different growth habit, bigger than what we saw before with the cherry blossom, but again, very uniform in terms of size, and overall they all look very similar in terms of their shape and growth habit. And then that would contrast with this entry, early bird. This is photographed again, taken on the 24th of July, and we've arranged these just in order of size, from largest to smallest. See, there's a tremendous differences in the size, and then when we look closer, the growth habit and shape of the plants can be different. And then here's early bird, another plot of that taken 10 days later, so it's a little bit bigger overall, but again, a lot of difference in the size from largest to smallest, and differences in the appearance of the plants. A lot of phenotypic variation with this entry. Briefly, I'll just discuss what we're doing in our fertilizer trial. Certainly, we're in the middle of that trial now, so there's no data to talk about, but got a number of treatments that we can divide into 3 sets of treatments. The first would be our all granular fertilizer products, and here we're specifically looking at side dress materials. We have calcium nitrate and potassium nitrate. The second set there, again, potassium and calcium nitrate, but we're using water-soluble products. We're fertigating this instead of applying a granular material. And then finally, we have a program that's an all-liquid fertilization program designed specifically for hemp. And we begin the season with a balanced material, balance between nitrogen and potash at 626. Once we begin blooming, we move to a product that's higher in potash, so we go to a 419. So we've got a set of treatments looking at these materials as well. In our fertilizer trials, all the treatments, whether fertigated later or the all liquid program, all of them began this season with a high phosphorus transplant starter fertilizer. And then we applied 640 pounds of 6618 tobacco grade fertilizer the day after planting. So all of them have the same base fertilizer program. And our treatment variables in this test will include nitrogen rates as well as potash rates. Here are some additional hemp research trials that we will have at the research station. One is a trial looking at drying temperatures for the hemp, and here we'll be using bulk tobacco barns. We can control the temperature and have a range of temperatures, and then look at the impact of temperature on cannabinoid chemistry of the hemp. And then following that, we'll look at the carryover of that hemp aroma in these curing barns, and will this carry over? How much does it carry over to the cured tobacco that would follow? And then finally, I have a general interest in transplant production, so we'll be looking at transplant production for hemp from clones as well as from seed. Visiting farms, we see a range in the rooting habit of a lot of these hemp plants. And so I have a general interest in looking at root development of the hemp plant, and how does this impact fertilizer and water uptake by the plant. We can see a lot of problems with root systems on some plants, and we have disease roots. Here's an example on the left of a root system that had really girdled itself, so it was a poor transplant to start with. On the right, I didn't want to dig up the best plant I could find, so I dug up sort of an intermediate plant, just to look at what should a decent root system look like, and that's sort of what we found. And in general, the root system is a shallow root system, and it really doesn't match the size of what you would expect with a plant the size that we would be digging up. Some of these plants can have very large stalk sizes, stalk diameters, and the root system in general just doesn't match the size of the plant. So we want to look at root systems and managing the hemp crop itself. And so we're looking at using a soil moisture probe that will give us a picture of what's going on with the root system. And here we can look at volumetric soil moisture as well as ion content. This probe that we have here has sensors at 10 centimeter depth in the root zone from 5 to 55 centimeters or 2 to 22 inches deep in the profile. We're making readings every 30 minutes, so it's a continuous monitoring throughout the day. And then the data is uploaded with a cell phone link where we can look at this on the web and monitor this somewhat continuously. I thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions or comments that you want to direct to me, you can certainly email me or give me a call. If you've got a troubleshooting need on farm with your hemp crop, please feel free to contact us. Thank you. This is just an example of what we'll look at when we look at the web. This is just a shot from yesterday of a probe. And along the bottom, the green graph is just showing total soil moisture. And then we can see those three spikes that occurred, and they corresponded to two irrigation events and then one rain event that we had. And the graph above, that's showing the data of the individual probes or individual sensors in the profile. And particularly, we'll look at the one there on the left with that drip irrigation event that was 60 minutes duration. And we can see, particularly at 15 and 25 centimeters, we had a good increase in soil moisture. And the drip tape itself was located about 15 centimeters deep, so that's what we'd expect to see. And what I think is particularly interesting with this, and hopefully we can use this to get a better feel for how the root system develops, are those colored ovals that you see on the lines. That's showing the rooting activity. So where those ovals are occurring is the depth in the profile, where the roots are actually taking up moisture. So let's look at the before that first 60-minute irrigation event. We were removing moisture from 35, 45, and 55 centimeters deep. We irrigated, and then the next day we were removing moisture at 15 and 25. So with more soil moisture in the profile, the plant was taking up moisture at a higher level in the profile, closer to the surface. And you can see that, particularly the pink there, and as well as the blue, larger circles there, so it's actually taking up more moisture. So hopefully that's going to be a useful tool for our research program and then moving forward, working with managing the crop better.